I've asked Megan to kind of think about how we can do hyper-personalization within our account management strategy and what might that look like. So building more specific segments of customers and treating them a bit differently.
Hey, greetings, everybody. This is Adil, Cross the Funnel podcast. I know that this, there's some conversation going around not for the last quarter, even from the last, I would say the whole year, that when this AI evolution has come up, building was easiest than ever. Now it's everybody is building product, but why we're bringing on these conversations is to to educate people how they can articulate the revenue impact while they're building with their customers across different customer verticals. We are talking about the top level SaaS metrics that everybody care, every investor to revenue leaders. So today we have Sara from ChartMogul. She's a chief revenue officer, and she's responsible for all the SaaS metrics for all these more than 130 million SaaS applications tracking their SaaS metrics using ChartMogul. So thank you very much, Sara, for taking the time.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to today's conversation.
Love that. So now building a GTM analytics for revenue ops. I know that it's analytics has been a bigger part of how to drive AI, because AI needs data, AI needs all these resources to be smarter over time. With this AI, how do you see this has changed if you just talk about the revenue operation at ChartMogul?
How AI has changed our revenue operations function?
Yes.
Yeah, fair question. So I oversee sales, revenue operations, marketing, and account management here at ChartMogul. Although my background is largely defined by sales and sales operations. So RevOps is really one of my favorite areas to play. I would say that our strategy has shifted from running early 2020s traditional marketing playbooks to forcing both our RevOps and our demand gen function to operate more like the old days of growth hacking. And so designing and deploying quick technical experiments to validate ideas and then turn on and off things very quickly. So for example, a year ago, we were sort of running, $12,000, $15,000 worth of Google ads because we thought that's what we were supposed to be doing. And we didn't want our competitors to be outbidding us. But when we looked at the data a bit closer, we said, you know what, we could do something else with this money. And so instantaneously, we turned off all of our Google ads. And we ran some quick experiments where my head of RevOps and I kind of got on the phone, a call like this, and we kind of vibe coded some new ads because we wanted to try some experimentation on LinkedIn and Reddit. So that's just a short example of how AI has transformed our revenue operations functions. We're a bit scrappier, technical, and faster, which is a delicate balance.
Yeah, that's what it takes. And I was at this when I was just listening to this team at Anthropic, and they were like, it's not just like long ago, like 8 months. Like it seems like a pretty long time with this AI and all this going pretty fast. But they were like more preaching towards building vertical agents across organizations and for internal uses. So how do you see this agentic big shift that has come in the past 6 months for your, of course, sales, marketing, revenue, all of that? So I know Claude has a bigger contribution in it, but how you're trying to do it internally for your team at scale, to operationalize, to automate, and all of that.
Yeah, I think it's pushing everyone to challenge themselves as it relates to AI. So the sentiment is like, if you tried LLMs 6 months ago or 8 months ago and you were largely unsatisfied with the results, I think a lot of folks have been like, yeah, it's not all that. It can't do it, right? And so a lot of the use cases were rather simplistic, like a slightly souped up version of what you would build with a workflow engine like Zapier or N8N. And so we've just been forcing our team to say, actually, if you haven't touched this stuff in a year, you're going to be blown away. And what you should do is you should just give it the hardest things that are on your to-do list and see how it performs. And I promise you'll be surprised. So I think the impact of this for us internally is that it's making folks more capable generalists. I mean, I know how websites are built and hosted, but it's been a long time since I've touched HTML. But 2 weeks ago, I built a microsite for an event series we're running using Cowork. And then the next thing I know, I was editing HTML in Cursor. So that's cool, right? Because it makes us more capable. And I like the idea of like high agency, no pun intended, generalists, where we can have just like really ambitious senior operators impacting all areas of like the go-to-market strategy.
Interesting. And then also, I know the SaaS metrics is, being from marketing to, to post sales to, revenue expansion and all, and of course, advocacy and all. If you only talk about the revenue retention side of things, because this is being the biggest challenge, because acquiring customers has been the hardest now, because distribution is, outbound is going dead, and people are like SDRs, BDRs are like doing like 150 to 300 calls a day, compared to like 6 months ago, they were just doing 50 or 60, because the connectivity and deliverability is not that big, because everybody's doing it. So now it becomes even more important, retain your customers and install base, and finding ways and building systems around it to increase the lifetime value, and find out the hidden opportunities, whether it's going multi-product, whether it's going building internal agents, like just like Gong did, like they did like a lot of agents at once. So what is your playbook towards the revenue expansion and retention side of things, if you talk about the go-to-market?
Sure, yeah. I have a call later today with our head of account management. She's been tasked with kind of an interesting challenge. In like BDR, SDR world, the idea of hyper-personalization at scale has been around for a long time. But traditional account management, or like high-touch customer success, has largely leveraged a one-to-many approach versus a one-to-one approach, with the exception of like QBRs or renewals, right? Like obviously those are specific to an account. But in my experience, most SaaS businesses at scale, they're running like kind of like marketing campaigns on their install base to say, okay, if this signal, then that expansion opportunity, I send you an email, I tell you to upgrade. I've asked Megan to kind of think about how we can do hyper-personalization within our account management strategy, and what might that look like. So building more specific segments of customers and treating them a bit differently. So for example, ChartMogul, the product, has very many integrations. And so when I launch a new update to our Stripe integration, the traditional product marketing playbook would just be to like email everybody and say, hey, look at this new feature. We've updated our Stripe integration. But for all of your Recurly users or your ChargeBee users, that product marketing update is largely irrelevant. So what would it look like if you could say, actually, I know what Sara at ChartMogul cares about, and I'm going to deliver only the feature updates to her that are relevant for her role and how she engages with our product. And that could be a more meaningful experience for your customers, and then make them feel thought out after, so that expansion or retention decision is a little bit easier. So that's an ongoing project. I wouldn't say we've totally gotten all the way there, but we're making strides.
Yeah, it's always good to do segment by segment, because of course the customer behaviors are always going to be exceptional across segments, and it is so hard to articulate what metrics matter to them and how they perceive value out of your product. Starting from maybe onboarding, even like we've done a survey, more than 170 with GTM leaders, and most of them, they agree that more than 25% of the customers, they actually churn between the stage of onboarding to adoption. So it is so hard to, I mean, especially in these legal and healthcare industries, it's so hard to track the customer education part. And with this AI, it's even harder because the noise has increased so much. So, what kind of industry verticals, ChartMogul? I know that SaaS, it's all about SaaS, but now SaaS is expanding more than ever. Like even legal, healthcare. You talk about real estate, ed tech. They're expanding so at a rapid pace. So, what kind of the new industry verticals are you trying, or maybe some new customer segments that you're exploring, or maybe some customer stories that you have to share in these less AI-enabled verticals that I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure. So I'd say our business has been around for 11, 12 years, and
Mhm.
our ICP focus is probably as hyper focused as it's ever been. So we've really been serving the B2B SaaS industry for the past few years, which makes deciding what to build from a product development perspective quite easy,
Mhm.
right? The more you expand kind of your footprint into different verticals, the harder it is to sort of decide what to build. But it is true that with the focus and attention on AI and agentic, the conversation feels less central to B2B SaaS. And I
Mhm.
don't know how long that's going to last. So maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year. And so one thing that's been encouraging me to look at is anyone with recurring revenue can be a ChartMogul customer. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this coffee shop, Pret. You can go to Pret, you can
Yes.
get like
Yeah.
a cup
Yeah.
of coffee, you can get a croissant or a breakfast, whatever, and you can also sign up for a Pret
Yeah.
membership.
Yeah.
Um, and so this recurring revenue business could be a prospective ChartMogul customer. So as investors and founders are excited about AI and agentic versus B2B SaaS, it's forcing me to say, hey, maybe there are some other verticals, streaming, media,
Entertainment.
publishing. They end up in our pipeline all the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
But we don't do anything necessarily to like market or find those folks because we are so focused on serving B2B SaaS. So it's a question I'm exploring. Should we be going after some larger enterprise digital verticals, e-learning, for example? So we'll
Mhm.
see. We'll do some experimentation later this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now talk about your process. I know that this is it's almost a decade now, and you've got a pretty stable industry verticals, pretty deep run into this customer base in North America and overall as well.
Yeah.
So now thinking about how you're tracking success from the point of onboarding to, of course, delivering value faster, and then all the way to expansion opportunities. How would all of this process, of course, revenue operations also come along in that life cycle. So how does this all work at ChartMogul? How you're measuring success for your customers? I know that you have account management, customer success, you have revenue, you have sales, marketing, all of that. But is there any system of record that you have that triggers or makes these teams proactive, whether it's an enterprise customer or an SMB, pretty low touch?
Yeah. So our business model is largely inbound. We drive all of our demand to a 14-day free trial. And we're lucky in that we get hundreds of free trials every single month. Then I have a small sales team that sits on those free trials. Now they only touch probably 30% of the inbounds because the rest are sort of funneled through a self-serve motion. Their job is to get those customers to activate and engage in an evaluation of ChartMogul, the product. And we do that with calls and Loom videos and onboarding sessions. And we try to be aligned with how our buyers want to buy. Do they prefer to go it at their own and try, or do they need a little bit more hand holding? And once those folks hopefully convert to paying customers, they stick around for a decade, and we just continue to service them both with the product and then the support and engagement experience. We use N8N to drive a lot of workflows and alert folks in Slack to take actions based on things that happen in the product. And of course, ChartMogul itself is sort of our operating system, because ChartMogul knows who your prospective customers are, your trialists, your churn customers, and it really offers basically all of the information about who your subscribers are, or could be, and then the revenue data itself. And so, the focus is on converting trialists to high LTV subscribers, and then keeping those folks happy for a decade. And that's a cool thing to say, is like, we do have customers that have been with us for like 10 or 11 years, from the very beginning of our journey, which I think is a testament to the ultimate goal, right? Which is to build a product and a business that delivers on its promise. And so that's sort of what we're accountable for pushing the standard on.
Yeah, of course. I know that revenue operations have changed over time, and of course, you now must be seeing a lot of different customers are thinking about having technology or platform like ChartMogul for their subscription management and all these SaaS matters that they care about more than ever. So now, talking about these SaaS matters that are more towards health or expansion side of things, how does how do you articulate it for your own post sales, or you mentioned customer success that is more like kind of a hybrid touch? So is there any kind of tech stack or any kind of triggers, any nudges that you have to measure the health alongside the journey? Because it might change over time, because a lot of these customers, they have like so many options. A lot of these companies, mid-sized companies, they're building their internal tooling. So how big of a churn that is, and how it is hitting the churn, or what system you have to forecast it ahead of time?
Sure. A couple of questions there. So how do we track like health? So we previously used like a customer success platform. So like the Gainsights, the Tatangos, the Custifys of the world. A few years ago, I challenged the team on that, because to me, a customer success health platform and a CRM are ostensibly the same thing. They're databases with data points about the same customers, and workflow tools. So we actually turned off of our customer success platform, migrated again everything to ChartMogul, making ChartMogul really central. And then we built some rudimentary health scoring using some automation tooling and our BI tool, which is Superset. I'm a little bit of a contrarian around like lead scores and health scores. Like, I don't know what the difference between a 57 and a 64 is. And I'd rather you just go out and form relationships with your customers. So you can definitely over automate things there. But, one of the things that ChartMogul competes with is like an in-house build. And so ChartMogul is this opinionated analytics platform that gives you all of the SaaS metrics you need, monthly recurring revenue, churn, lifetime value. If you're a business with growth and retention in mind, then ChartMogul is a great option for you. But lots of teams opt to DIY. They say, hey, we have Thomas on our data team, and he can export the data from Stripe and put it into Tableau or Looker, which is where all this other data lives. So I'm not seeing a major change from my point of view about like AI and like vibe coding replacements. It's just a different version of the same thing. So like you could build a ChartMogul alternative on Tableau 5 years ago or 7 years ago. And maybe the competitive tooling has changed slightly, but it's still a question of like, do you want to build and maintain this, and allocate resources on a continued basis to it? And so the narrative is slightly different, but at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing from my point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, a lot of these platforms like ChartMogul, they're like so sticky. Like once you have all your data and all, it's so hard to do the change management, especially for mid-market to, already enterprise companies. And it is hard to, make sure to migrate all of that. Just like a CRM, so if you have ChartMogul as your system of record, it's so hard to, migrate and, have your team train on another platform now on top of everything that it does.
Yeah, maybe. We also try to be like complementary to the data stack, right? So we don't want you to be beholden to ChartMogul necessarily, but say you do have, you know, you do have like your data warehouse and some BI tooling, and you want to do more analysis than ChartMogul offers. And so the conversation internally is like, hey, I think we've outgrown ChartMogul, right? Like that's the thing that we're trying to combat. We actually have capabilities to push ChartMogul data to data warehouses and BI tools, so you have the flexibility to use those things in concert. Versus, you know, we don't want to like force you, we want to like enable you. But yeah, it is true. It's interesting, the things that are very sort of unsexy about ChartMogul are some of the most sticky things. So we have basically the ability to ingest all these different kinds of data and then normalize them. And then we have this suite of data cleaning and editing tools. So when you make a mistake, you can just like fix it very simply in
you don't need to be a
ChartMogul.
data ops manager or engineer to do the configuration or all the changes, or
Yeah,
maybe
it's pretty hard to break ChartMogul. Like I'm sure you could do it. Like if you go in and delete a bunch of stuff, if you had the wrong permissions. But you know, it's like it's simple things. So for example, imagine you have a customer on a monthly plan, and then they say, "Oh, I saw the promotion you're running, and I want to upgrade to annual to take advantage of those savings. I'm very happy. I want to commit. I want to give you more money." In ChartMogul, in many systems, you'll have to cancel their monthly subscription and then create a new annual subscription. And what that looks like is false churn and reactivation, when really it's just one contiguous movement. And so these kind of like little data cleaning tools, you just click two buttons in ChartMogul, and or you can set it up, you know, to run programmatically. These kinds of things, like we're very good at handling the complexities of subscription data, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And do you want your team to figure out when to recognize churn, or how to handle proration or currency fluctuation? That would be sort of our argument as to why you ought not like a DIY approach or a vibe coded approach to SaaS metrics.
Yeah. Right. So now, as somebody, of course, yourself, you are being a sales leader long time, almost more than a decade now. So how do you see this notion growing into with this AI, like going multi-product or building internal agents for sales, and of course, everything in consolidating? I know that you have pretty deep, Brian, like workflow integration, like CRMs and all those integrations that you have. But every other platform is thinking of doing everything adjacent, like sales analytics is more now, sales enablement, and you know they're also doing like sales. Post sales as well, customer success. They're jumping into a lot of these CSP platforms you mentioned. They're not now more into the support side of things as well. Like they're overlapping a lot of these analog functions, just like sales and revenue and sales and success are. They're trying to go adjacent product wise. So I know you're not a product leader, but you're a leader yourself. A lot of this decision making goes through you. So how do you guys think of planning all of this, and how this all aligns with your product vision?
It's hard, right? Because you're building at such a rate that your product marketing or your customers can't keep up with your feature development. So if tomorrow you release all this adjacent functionality, you run the risk of like overwhelming or confusing your customers. I'm actually thinking of we bought a product a couple of years ago for call recording and sales coaching. And then I opened up their product roadmap and they were like, "New, we just launched scheduling." And I was like, no, I have Calendly for that. I don't need you to, I want you to be the best at call coaching. And the fact that you're investing product and engineering resources in scheduling, that's like not the problem set I want you focused on. So I think you have to, you know, instill your customers with confidence that whatever it is your mission, or the reason customers are trusting you, that you are displaying continued focus and expertise. And what happens when you get too far adjacent from that mission or that core value driver, you run the risk of no longer being a credible domain expert
In the
in a
category,
way.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that happened to us, right? Like, we had inbound demand for revenue recognition capabilities. And so we were like, great, let's build a revenue recognition product. We'll sell it to all of our customers, expansion, voila. And then like years later, we depreciated the product, and we did kind of a post-mortem on it, and we were like, oh, we should have never built that. Different ICP, but moreover, to me, it's like a different domain expert. Our team is not back office finance experts. We can't, you know, we can consult you on growth and retention and what best practices are around like scaling a SaaS business, but back office compliance is a very nuanced, different kind of thing. And so I think being mindful of like your ICP or your domain expertise, and saying, just being mindful about saying yes to the right things, and that's tricky, right? Because the design and development cycle for launching things has collapsed, right? You're hearing people say like the end of prototyping. You don't even need to design that spec. You can just build it. And then someone can review your PR. But it is worthy for some things to go through the design process to redesign and say like, should we build this? And so having the decision criteria to put things in the right buckets, I guess, is what we're trying to do.
Love that, because the other side of the on the flip side, as you mentioned, there's just so many platforms that are going just in trying to do everything. They are like falling apart. They're not like, of course, you need to make sure that you're serving your category at the end of the day. And 10, 12 years down, it becomes even more informed. Now, thinking about you as a leader, like I am a co-founder, think a lot most recently, like we think like, hey, we're gonna be commoditized. Whatever we build, Cloud can have their own MCPs next day, and everybody can do all this co-pilots inside Cloud, and a lot of this tooling is gonna be commoditized, and there's not gonna be a lot of consumer because AI and agents are gonna be the next thing. So how do you think as a leader, how secure you feel?
I mean, hypothesizing too far in the future is sort of like a fool's game, right? I think we don't know. What we do know is like doubling down on your moat, and your moat beyond product too, which is like your relationships with people. We do a lot of data-backed industry content with the idea of trying to create things that are not product, but are still useful for, relevant consumers. And so, yeah, investing in these things, like for me, interpersonal relationships, like networking is one of my superpowers, and so I can control the controllable, and we can be communicative and proactive, like within our executive team, to say, here's my understanding of the risks, and here's what I think we should do, just given the landscape. And so, no good answer to that question, but I guess it goes beyond the product, and the product, the business of product.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my response was more like, you can go and build a tool next day what I built, but the people that love me, they're gonna buy what next I'm building. So it's just about people, and as you mentioned, the relationships. Yeah.
You see that, right? You see that in the early days of SaaS, and you see that with like AI native companies now, where when people make a purchase decision about something, should I give you my money, right? And part of that is, okay, for this price point, am I going to get the intended value or ROI from this product experience? But if you think about the last like 10 purchases you made, maybe professionally, but also personally, the tricky thing about people is they don't always make rational decisions, right? They make emotional ones. And so sometimes you actually vote for a business with your dollars because you love seeing that founder build in public, or you think that mission is interesting. And so when you see some of these businesses that are growing very quickly, some people just want to, it's a fear of missing out. It's like, I want to be on the hype train. I'm buying I'm buying, my monthly or annual Claude Cowork because I have to learn Claude Cowork to stay relevant. Do I want to give them $200 a month? Do I want to spend my Sunday morning building apps in my guest room? Maybe not. A little bit, kind of, somewhere in the middle. But that's where it gets tricky, and so yeah, I think that's the fun part a little bit. I mean, that's why I like sales, honestly.
No, absolutely. It's all about you got to decide that you are going to be the beneficiary of your choices. So you got to know why you're doing it, how it's going to impact, and whatever you want to make an impact. And that's about it. So now a little bit about your culture. I know that you've been almost more than 7 years now. ChartMogul and team, they must love you. That's why they kept you for long enough. So how is the culture like there? Not just in your team, but what kind of operating principle that you are like kind of cultivating across teams? I know that most of your teams has been consistent. You're one of the SaaS company that are consistent people working for them. So that gives a good testament of a very consistent culture. So could you walk us through to our audience, like what is like working at ChartMogul, working with you, any openings you
Yeah.
guys have?
Yeah, absolutely. So ChartMogul is 60 people, represented by very many um, nationalities and cultures, which is quite fun. I always have the idea of doing a ChartMogul cookbook, um, which is silly, and I don't know if I'll ever do it. But we've got an office in Seoul, Korea. We've got
Mhm,
our presence here in Germany, where we're headquartered, and then we also have like a legal entity and office in Toronto. But the 60 of us are sort of scattered globally with
mhm,
folks in Manila and Bangkok and Athens and Amsterdam, like all over. So
mhm,
I quite like that. I would characterize us as kind of like European. I'm one of the oddball Americans,
mhm.
originally from like Baltimore,
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., but I've been in
Mhm,
Germany for a decade now, which is crazy to say.
mhm,
And we're a bit nerdy, right? Like, I think we all quite like SaaS. And we've had a lot of fun building software for the last decade together. And we're sharing like Steam video game recommendations,
okay.
um, music and gardening and recipes. So at least compared to our to previous employers and cultures I've been a part of, like we're a bit academic and kind of fun. Um, and I would characterize us more of like a high performance team. Um, you know, a lot of senior operators, like high agency, want to get things done and help our customers. Um,
Mhm,
and so we're not hiring at the moment, but you can always check out our careers page if that changes. And then
mhm.
we're gonna do a road show. So we're gonna be in a lot of cities. Paris, Amsterdam,
Ah,
London, Bangkok, or
okay.
sorry, not Melbourne. And so maybe
Oh,
be
Australia.
our yeah,
Mm.
maybe our
When is
paths
that
will cross.
happening?
It is starting next month. We kick off in
Starting next
Paris,
week.
and then we
Okay.
do San Francisco in May,
Oh, I will be in
and
San Francisco in May too. And we have Saster as well, another
yes,
event that we are doing
yeah,
alongside
exactly.
Saster. Mm.
Cool.
Okay, I'll be in July, I'll be in Europe. So definitely, is there anything happening in July? I'll definitely check out Berlin, of course,
Yeah,
meet some
yeah.
customers there.
TBD. Some things are still in the works, but
Okay,
we'll publish everything shortly,
with Corbin.
and hope to meet some folks beyond the Zoom.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you're, one of the leaders, what is that one thing that you advise to female sales leader? Because just yesterday it was just a day before it was Women's International Women's Day, and we had this beautiful some of the women that made a huge impact in terms of
Yeah.
like their leadership and all. So, what is that one advice that you share with women aspiring to be sales leaders?
Yeah, I think I would maybe give this advice to all sales leaders, but maybe particularly female sales leaders. Don't shy away from the technical stuff. Like I always tell sales candidates in general, I say ChartMogul is a great place to learn APIs, integrations, rate limits. And if you take a job at ChartMogul, I can't promise that like onboarding and the learning curve is going to be easy. It's not a Google Chrome, plug-in.
Mhm.
You're going to
Mhm.
have to model data and calculate churn, but you'll make more money in a technical sales role than you will, like selling like a simple widget
Traditional
or
sales. Yeah.
so I would say especially now, like you force yourself to do the hard things, like like edit the HTML or get some advice about how to take your your co-work project and put it in Cursor and
Yeah.
don't be afraid to fool around in GitHub within reason, because I think it adds to your credibility and helps quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of these sales leaders, including myself, they when time changed and it changed so quickly, it's so hard to get outside of your comfort zone because sales leaders are always known to be like talking on the calls, meeting people in
Yeah,
person. They're not so much. The maximum they've done is the Google Meets and Zooms, and before that it was like calls, phone calls, and it is so hard for them to evolve with the way sales have changed. Now, I would
sure.
say in 5 years from now, every sale is going to be a technical sale, especially in SaaS. So you pretty much hit the point that it's all about getting technical and embracing this change and making sure you go outside your comfort zone. And best part about salespeople is they're like so adaptable because
Right.
uh, they're so adaptable. They don't know, but it's once they start liking something or start enjoying, they'll just get in deep and
Yeah, yeah, and so long as you don't lose your voice of the voice of the customer, which is part of your job. It's funny, like I say, don't be afraid to get into the weeds, but at the same time, my two of my sales teammates are going to be on extended leave later this year, and I know what I will be doing for those 2 weeks. I will be making all their cold calls. Um,
Ooh.
so get
That's the biggest thing about leadership. They go first.
I gotta brush up, right?
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so it should be fun.
Yeah, perfect. Sarah, it was real nice meeting you. It was your energy was infectious, insightful conversation, getting to know ChartMogul and the operation, how you guys are making a massive impact. Best wishes for all that you guys are planning later this year, and I'll definitely follow your journey.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, and see you later this year.